tell us about how you got into car audio. Who influenced you? Like your first system that you remember, and some of the equipment maybe that you used.
Okay, how did I get into car audio? Well, that's an interesting question because it really started with um going places like the Maine Mall. I grew up in Maine, so going to the mall was like kind of a special thing, and they always had, a couple stereo shops there. Best Buy had their car that was in there, so I always knew Kicker Subs and Tweeter was really popular. In Circuit City, you could always go around and fool around with stuff like that, and that's where I got my kind of like my car audio, like love for car audio. But if you take it before that, I really liked home audio a lot, and my cousin Joshua, who who passed away, had a really big influence on me there. So I would give him a big credit because we used to do some crazy stuff with speakers and we had no idea what we were doing. And looking back on it now, we were doing some pretty, like, I'm surprised we didn't blow more amps that we did because we were just paralleling every single speaker we could around the house, and just and it was like the best to us. I would say my cousin Joshua, um, he died when he was 25, I believe, and that really stunk. Really was horrible. And yeah, he had a big influence on me. And then yeah, Circuit City and just going and seeing merchandise that I couldn't get because I wasn't, in the I wasn't purchasing stuff yet at that age. I didn't have money in the bank. I was still a young kid, so I was just looking at stuff at Best Buy in Circuit City. So I'd say that's where it all started.
Best Buy and Circuit City. Were you a Best Buy guy or a Circuit City guy back in the day?
Oh, Circuit City by far because
Oh,
they had a lot of
man.
distro. They had a lot of like distribution blocks and like all I had capacitors. I'll admit it. I had different size capacitors and they had more to choose from than I thought than Best Buy. Even though Best Buy had that little yellow car with the pioneers sticking out of it and all that. And I just thought that their little circle was kind of limited, but Circuit City had that little wraparound and then that install bay. I just liked Circuit City.
Yeah, they were way better for audio, in my opinion, too. I don't know. I haven't
Yeah,
never asked Derek about it. I don't know how he feels about it, but as far as
I bought a lot
audio,
of stuff from there.
Yeah, I like Circuit City better too. But
Yeah.
sorry
And
about
that,
a lot of people.
yeah, I think that's where I got a lot of my first stuff, and a lot of it was just putting it in my parents' vehicles or stealing it from actually my sisters. I have two twin sisters that are older than me, and they got a MTX Blue Thunder for their 18th birthday, and an Alpine V12 MRV. Oh, or MR. I think it was the MR, but it was definitely a V12. I can't remember which one it was, but I stole that. I took that, and then that became my semi first system, and then and then it became, and then I also my if you consider that not mine, my real first system was a PB 1000, a pyramid amp with a Jensen XS 12-inch woofer that I found at a flea market just a couple years ago, and I'm never. I'm gonna keep that forever because they remind me of my cousin Joshua because we were taking home audio cabinets, just we would take any odd friggin', audio friggin' cabinet and just put car audio subs in it, and it all began with that blue metallic Jensen XS 12, 12, the 1212, yeah. And I have two of them, one seized up and one that's still moving up and down, hanging up on my wall to remember Josh by. So that kind of goes back to what we were just saying.
That's an awesome story, man. And
Yeah.
you and I've talked a little bit, more so in the past few months, but I never heard you tell the MTX Blue Thunder story, and those were my first subs, and I've talked about that before. So
Nice.
there's a deeper connection here. I feel it.
Yeah, I had a 10-inch in a power wedge with a graded cover, and I want to say that came from Circuit City, but I'm not 100% sure because my dad bought it for my sisters at the time, and that was the big 18th birthday present. I wasn't a big part of the purchasing, so I don't know much about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think we all have some old equipment, that we don't ever want to give up. But I understand, having stuff that reminds you of your cousin. I have a friend too that passed away at a young age, and him and I were in the car audio at the same time. So things like that, really, they really help you. And a lot of times people think old school car audio is junk because it's old, but I think in a lot of ways it's just that you remember the times, you remember the nostalgia, things like that are really important, for people. It helps them keep touch, if nothing else, with those we lost. So that's a great story.